What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Grimm, aka Allfires. Now, if you missed our video from a couple of days ago about the first look footage shown at CineEurope for Deadpool and Wolverine, I'll make sure to link that video at the end of this. It was about the first 12 minutes of the film, and there was a description given. We broke it down in full if you want to go watch it. But today we've got some additional details, most of them official and coming from Total Film Magazine or the director Shawn Levy, about when the film is set, what's been going on with Deadpool. We're going to talk about all of that. Some very interesting quotes. We're then going to get into the latest rumor about cameos coming up in Deadpool and Wolverine, because the rumor mill has decided that at least one of the, and I won't say OG Avengers because he's not, but OG Infinity Saga members is going to be making a cameo in the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine. And yes, while it does appear that there's a major Easter egg for that in the trailers, I think also people are maybe just twisting a little bit a quote given by Benedict Cumberbatch. And obviously we're talking about Doctor Strange. We're breaking it down, all the latest official details and a bit of rumors for the upcoming Deadpool and Wolverine. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews to the occasional industry insider report and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. The next one is right around the corner to coincide with Deadpool and Wolverine's release. Again, all you got to do be a sub, leave a comment. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so again, these new and official details were posted by Total Film, so no spoiler warning needed because they're now part of the Marvel Studios promo. Marvel Studios knows that these details are going out there. They have to approve these kinds of articles. What was said is that the film officially takes place 6 years after Deadpool 2. And a lot has changed since last we saw Wade Wilson. First up, they confirmed that Wade Wilson has now retired completely from Deadpool. They don't exactly say why, but he is no longer being the superhero. Rather, he's a used car salesman, and a bad one at that, because they go on to say, quote, he's proving to be useless at selling cars and having to hawk Blind Al's blood pressure meds to try to make rent. Not only that, his beloved Vanessa has a new boyfriend. So for those of you who guessed because of the way the trailer dialogue went in the very first trailer that she had moved on and they were no longer together, you would be correct. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds has set Wade Wilson up as a huge loser right now, and only to further his redemption arc of being picked up by the TVA to protect the sacred timeline. Speaking of which, we now know officially that that's the deal. The TVA is interested in Wade Wilson, specifically Deadpool, in order to protect the quote-unquote sacred timeline. Now, I don't need to get into the exact semantics of the timeline and what is set where, because Marvel Studios will always officially come out and say there's no point in sort of trying to speculate. We know it's 6 years after Deadpool 2, but he's in a different universe, so it doesn't mean it exactly lines up with the quote-unquote sacred timeline at the same time. But does this imply that this is pre-events of Loki Season 2? And the reason I ask is because when Loki takes his seat as the god of stories, the limited dialogue that's included with this is pretty clear about what's happening. Loki, by taking that seat, is basically giving everybody a chance not to adhere to a sacred timeline, but rather to make their own choice and forge a new future, which is supposed to be in service of them being able to ultimately win Avengers Secret Wars. And obviously we've talked about that here at the channel, and that is a different in-depth theory video about what He Who Remains really meant in the times he talked about Loki, about quote-unquote taking over and the end of all things, way past perhaps the point that we're at now. Plenty of time to do theory videos like that before we get to Avengers Secret Wars, but I ultimately don't think any of this matters, and I want to explain why before we get into the cameo part of the video, because ultimately, and from every source that we trust, we know how far this movie's going to go to setting up Secret Wars. It was said a million times before we even saw the first trailer. Shoot, for instance, the PSA that they put out in theaters literally starts with the dialogue, I heard in Secret Wars they're going to introduce, and then it cuts off. They know what this movie is meant to do. So whether it starts before or after Loki Season 2, I don't think ultimately matters, because Marvel knows the importance of this film for the brand and setting up Secret Wars. They're not going to cut its legs out from underneath it and take the actual agency out of the film by not having it have real impact on the goings-on this late in the Multiverse saga. Shoot, for instance, the Marvel's post-credit scene put Monica Rambeau in a different timeline we haven't seen already, with variants of the X-Men we haven't been introduced to. Deadpool and Wolverine are going to go a lot further. So whether or not it's the quote-unquote sacred timeline, pre-Loki Season 2, or the new sort of World Tree timeline, it's all going to impact it in a way that pushes the multiverse story forward. Now, speaking of pushing the multiverse story forward, now the next cameo we've been hearing about, speaking of the multiverse, sort of makes sense in context of the film and in context of the character that's Doctor Strange showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine. And this has mostly popped up in the rumor mill of late because of a comment he made about Marvel capers. We of course covered that at the channel last year, but it depends on how you interpret his comments, whether he meant they were going to start filming. That would rather refer to the new Avengers film, or because of how the filming lined up, he was actually talking about returning as Doctor Strange this year, which could also mean he has a cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine. That was one of the things that was speculated amongst channels like mine back when this news broke last year from this quote, and I think maybe we all sort of forgot about it because when we saw the sling ring portal, I think we all immediately kind of looked over Doctor Strange because it's the obvious choice. Surely it's not Doctor Strange opening this portal, but given this Benedict Cumberbatch quote, there's certainly a possibility that it is. And look, if we were just throwing darts at a board that had equal spaces for likelihood that characters would show up, his literal second installment and a major piece of the Multiverse saga has been the Multiverse of Madness movie, where he introduced a ton of the core concepts that are going to come into play with the Multiverse saga for incursions, showing us a different timeline, 838 distinction. So much of that was sort of our first look into what this may become, and so obviously it's the character that might make the most sense. But I also sort of want to postulate, recently we've heard that Wong might be showing up in Captain America Brave New World to recruit some new Avengers, and since he is the Sorcerer Supreme, it could just as likely be his character as Doctor Strange. But I want to point out something specific as it applies to power sets and abilities now. Sorcerer Supreme America Chavez going between dimensions and going across the multiverse. It is a big deal to be able to go from one dimension to the next, and even though 838 seemed to understand it and have it down, there are very few exceptions that allow this to happen. Obviously, America Chavez has that power, that's her innate superpower, but even Doctor Strange, as powerful as he is, and Wanda, as powerful as she is, still needed the Darkhold to be able to dreamwalk into other parts of the multiverse. And when Monica Rambeau shows up in a different timeline, even the smartest people like Hank McCoy think that it's impossible to travel the multiverse. So multiversal travel into different timelines from one to another is a very specific and rare thing, as opposed to opening up portals into other dimensions. And we've seen interdimensional travel, not multiversal across timelines, but between certain dimensions, actually quite a bit. We even saw it with Wong and She-Hulk. Some of the portals there opened up to, one of them may have actually been hell. But we also know that they can open up portals to side realms. That is something that is possible. So whether or not they're in the void fighting Cassandra Nova or on a main timeline, I think actually matters, because the realms, some of these dimensions, have been mentioned as existing between all of the timelines as an equally accessible place, which means basically you don't really know what rules we're working with here to what this portal could actually be. It can't be a portal to a different dimension if it's simply the Sorcerer Supreme opening it up, because they don't have that power. So there's a lot of things here we still don't know as far as whose sling ring this is, but I mean, again, if we were just going by likelihood a character is going to show up, importance, and what they have to do with the Multiverse saga, you got to imagine Doctor Strange would be on the top of the list. Top 3, top 5 at the very least, maybe even number 1 or 2. But guys, let me know all your thoughts down below, how hype you are for this film, and if you had to put your money on it, who would you guess is opening up that sling ring portal towards the end of the first trailer? I am all ears. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway before I let you go. Okay, still giving away PlayStation 5s at the channel. The next one is next month for Deadpool and Wolverine. When we get a little closer to the release of the film, we'll start doing the daily ticket giveaways. Again, if you want to be entered to win, all the same rules will always apply. Super simple. All you got to do be a sub, so hit the sub button, leave a comment on the video, and because it's truly random, the more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. The best thing to do to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And lately, guys, I know some of you have been telling me that YouTube is actually unsubbing you for the channel. This is something that they do periodically with cleanup. So if you've been subbed at the channel for a while, go ahead and check, because there's a chance I just show up in your home feed anyway because you've been watching me and you're actually unsubscribed after you've been subscribed. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what people have been telling me for the last couple of weeks. So make sure you are subscribed, hit the notification bell, and of course, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. Find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name All Fires Mall. I sincerely appreciate you checking my music out. Thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.